Hi, I'm the 3-Minute Sociologist again, and today I'd like to look at social change. Now, it turns out that sociologists spend a lot of time looking at change. So what are they talking about? We're going to look briefly at 5 things in 3 minutes, and that's a lot of stuff in a short period of time. First, we're going to look at what is change, and then we're going to look at 4 ways to look at social change. First of all, let's think about what is change. What happens when something changes? First of all, it's very simple. Something's different between 2 points in time, hence the tie to futures thinking. First of all, what's happening at time 1, and then compared to time 2, compared to time 3. That difference between time 1 and time 2, and time 2 and time 3 is kind of what they call in math a delta, or a difference. There are a lot of different measures of this, but let's look at 3. We can look at direct measures of change. For example, if you looked at the U.S. Census between 1980 and the present, you could look at the average or median family size in the census. The difference in that size would give us a relative change, the delta. A second way of measuring it would be looking at people's perceptions of change. If you look at the General Social Survey online, the GSS, you'll be able to determine that people change their perceptions of things over time. So how do their attitudes and opinions change? That's a measure of change too. And last, and certainly not least, we often look at indicators of change. By indicators of change, we're looking at a number of things that stand for something else. For example, we might look at the World Health Organization and look at a quality of life index, a bunch of indicators put together to see whether or not quality of life has changed from one time to another. Now let's look at 4 views of social change from 4 different theoretical perspectives. If you take a functionalist view, change is slow, planned, and evolutionary. Gaps between what a system can do and what is needed produces a tension that needs to produce change. What happens then is the social system has to restructure or reorganize, and then people have to be trained or re-socialized to deal with the new system. From a conflict view, change needs to be everywhere. A society that's stagnant and doesn't produce change, produces little change, is a society in which exploitation can occur, and that isn't moving the way it should. From a conflict view, we ought to be stimulating change whenever we can to produce a dynamic society. Thirdly, we can look at an interactionist view. What's the nature of change? Well, if you're an interactionist, what you'd argue is that if you take a situation, you've got to redefine it. If you redefine it, then change has occurred. And then we've got to re-socialize people on that. And hence, that new idea or that new conceptualization of something, say the American family, for example, becomes part of the culture. And then fourth, if you take a chaos theory approach, and this one's a pretty complicated one and probably will need more time, what we need to look at is, due to very small changes in a very complex system, small changes may produce major differences in a social system over time. Well, that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed this overview of change. Take care.